mercy and we Biafra, Lord, give us a freedom.
My wonderful people of Biafra, lovers of freedom, I welcome you to Skolante TV, where we bring to you news that concerns the restoration of Biafra and freedom all over the world. In this video, you will be hearing the Prime Minister of Biafra Republic Government in Exile and Dr. Ayaba, the Ambazonian leader, having a joint briefing where they responded to the global spotlights regarding to the alliance between the Ambazonians and the Biafrans. Just stick around and listen to it in details. But before I dive into it, let me quickly welcome back to my channel those of you that have been following my videos, and if you are new, I welcome you and urge you to do well too. Click that like button, subscribe to my channel, press that bell icon so that anytime I upload a video, you will be notified. Other than that, you can share it as well.
Good evening, fellow Biafrans. Good evening, Ambazonians. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the press, those who are seated in your different locations this evening to listen to these two great people. Myself, the Prime Minister of Biafra Republic Government in Exile, and Dr. Cho on this space as we respond to the ICG latest report. Also, as the Biafra Ambazonia Alliance is now on international spotlight. It's very important that our people know why the alliance of Ambazonia and Biafra is what is needed at this critical time. So I welcome you, Dr. Cho, Ayaba. You can go ahead and welcome our viewers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you, advisors to the Prime Minister of the government in exile, and thanks also to my advisors, people of my communications department, and others who are here, fellow Ambazonians. Today, when we set our side on establishing an alliance with the Biafran people, it was based on some very tangible observations, historical realities, which I explained when the Prime Minister and myself were out. That for so long, the Biafran people have been demonized within what you describe as the Islamic State of Nigeria. You were perceived, and you are continuously being perceived as a nuisance, but a necessary nuisance which they can keep for the state of extortion and exploitation. Ambazonia, within the context of Cameroon, has been treated like an outcast. We were described as Biafrans, not in the semantic term of being Biafrans, but in reflection of the fact that we needed to be exterminated in the same way that genocide was visited on the Biafrans. We were called enemies in the house. They created a phobia in Ambazonia about Biafra. Biafra to Ambazonians at the beginning was like a no-go zone. Don't touch them because they are described in such a humiliating manner. So So when I looked at the geopolitical reality in Cameroon, people in the east of Cameroon had relationships with Central African Republic. People in the north had relationships with the northern part of Nigeria. Ambazonia either had a relationship with the Atlantic Ocean, or it must develop one with the people with whom we were somehow governed along our pathway to self-determination as a common people. In the Eastern House of Enugu, when we analyze the context in Nigeria, the Yorubas are highly connected to the people in Benin Republic. In the north, the Niger, the Biafrans were left with only Ambazonia. Yet, despite the massive trade between Biafra and Ambazonia, we were told by the two enemies to undermine each other, to fear each other, not because Biafra has ever invaded Ambazonia, not because Ambazonia has ever committed genocide on Biafra, not because we have ever done anything to each other that should merit that fear. And if history is anywhere to go to, when we walk out of the Eastern House of Assembly, Biafra never burnt 2,000 of our villages, kidnapped thousands of our people and locked them in perpetuity without proper trial. Biafra never burned down children. Nothing happened. But an attempt to even ask Cameroon to reform our educational system is met with excessive force. And so within the context of these analyses, we came to the realization, and I'm glad the Prime Minister and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu before came to the same conclusion, that our relationship shall never be determined by neither Abuja nor Yaoundé. Our relationship shall be determined by the interests of both nations. And against all odds, even from internal opposition from certain Ambazonians, but I can say with a great welcome from the majority, we establish an alliance that at the beginning was attacked and now has become an international subject of the analysis of a reputable think tank based in Brussels. So we are here today to remind all of us that we didn't start this journey a couple of years back. We started this journey a long time ago. Now, the ICJ is, as I have just said, a reputable think tank. It's a non-governmental organization that is involved in research, policy analysis, and the prevention of conflict and conflict resolution. It helps highlight cases of conflict, pin them on the agendas of international institutions, nations, and other relevant stakeholders that can be involved in transforming the conflict, in resolving it, or accommodating its effect. Let me highlight a couple of issues that are relevant in that report before I hand over to the Prime Minister. The first is the way the ICJ captured the alliance. It captured it from the perspective of security for Ambazonia and security for Biafra. That this alliance provides the possibility for both people to use each other's territory for purposes of refuge and for purposes of support. And this is exactly how the Prime Minister, before him, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and myself have explained the importance of this alliance. though the ICG did not broaden it in the way I have explained on the relevance of the survival of Biafra, and to see that you cannot be within the context of a particular country that is allowed to build alliances beyond its own borders for its own geopolitical, economic, and strategic interest, why Biafra is not allowed to do the same. Why the Ambazonian Biafra alliance is treated almost like a pariah or as a threat to Abuja or Yaoundé. This alliance is not a threat to anybody. It is for the survival of Ambazonia and for the survival of Biafra. Another issue within the context of the Ambazonian, the Cameroon war, is something which is relevant for Biafra to also know, for all of you Biafrans to know. I haven't brought this to the attention of the Prime Minister through our own representatives, but this will be an opportunity before I will ask my representatives to submit a brief to Dr. Joy for the attention of the Prime Minister. As we speak, and is highlighted in the report of the ICG, Cameroon has created its own militias within Ambazonia. It is using those militias as agents provocateurs to commit crimes, to create situations that will be blamed on Ambazonia. And Biafra must take note of this. As you push the enemy to the wall, the enemy will use your own. They will use the enablers, they will use the spoilers to be able to undermine both Biafran cohesion and both the legality and the legitimacy of the Biafran struggle. That is exactly what Cameroon has done in Ambazonia. It has recruited thousands and thousands of Ambazonians and fronted them as the face of their opposition to our right to self-preservation and survival. It has now created militias, as highlighted in the report, to use the militias as all other militias have been used, like it was used in East Timor, to create chaos, panic, and lay the foundation for the commission of the crime of genocide. Finally, every birth begins with screams that we hardly understand. The journey from the mother's womb through the birth canal is a very difficult journey. Once the baby comes out, it immerses itself in an environment which is estranged from where it had sought refuge for 9 months. It is faced with all the plagues, the diseases, the hostilities created by man and by nature. That baby is nurtured and helped to understand their environment, their culture, to crawl, to stumble while trying to walk, and one day suddenly becomes a sprinter. That is the journey we have imagined for both Biafra and Ambazonia. This alliance will not succeed without the support of both the Biafran people and the Ambazonian people. We must believe in ourselves that an 80 million person economy
can lift
an 80 million economy can lift the people of Biafra and Ambazonia. We do not, based on our ingenuity, our creativity, our pain, and that pain has given us the ability to survive difficult situations. And that today, if this report has been able to capture this alliance, it is not going to make it work. It is in our hands to make it work. It is our fight. It is our future, and what we cannot allow to continue. Fellow Biafrans and Ambazonians, is to allow a few misguided individuals who oversee our nations for the interest of foreign dominions to use perpetual violence and intoxication not only to frighten the rightful owners of the land, but to transform those lands into a graveyard for the next 100 years. And as I said to our people, you must lay claim to it, have a stake in it, because on the day you take your last breath, you should be able to say to yourself that what you are transferring to the next generation of Biafrans and Ambazonians was more important than what you ever inherited.
Yes.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cho, for that apt submission from your end. You've actually touched everything concerning the importance of this alliance of Biafra and Ambazonia. But my fellow Biafrans all over the world listening, those journalists who may be seated here today listening, I want to remind our people the blockade of Biafra. The blockade of Biafra, just like Dr. Cho has submitted the borders of Biafra, is between in the coastal part of Biafra. The blockade of Biafra, Cameroon and Nigeria used the Ambazonia border. And so our people must understand that having studied the mistake of the Biafran people in the past, having studied how Nigeria were able, with their counterpart, the Britain, were able to starve our people to death, especially our children, during the genocidal war, it is of utmost importance that Biafra of today block every loopholes. What we see as the mistake of our past heroes shall and can never ever repeat itself again. And I will assure Biafra people today, Alliance of the Biafra Ambazonia has addressed the issue of blockade. It can never ever happen again.
Wow.
That is number one. Number two, looking at, I will not go into addressing what Cho have said because he has actually virtually touched the main issues on that report. But what the Biafran people and Ambazonia must understand as well is that the war against Biafra is Nigeria, and the war against Ambazonian people must be fought.
Okay, there is a break in transmission. Wait for the Prime Minister to return, please. We are here gathered with the Prime Minister of the indigenous people of Biafra and the President of the Ambazonia Council. The two nations are here to deliberate on issues bordering the interests of the Ambazonian people. Stay tuned as the Prime Minister returns to the microphone. We understand that the connection may be kind of hectic, and a lot of people are trying to hook up. So there might be some discrepancies coming in from the connecting angle. Do bear with us as we keep the space on in return of the Prime Minister.
Yes. Sorry for that.
Prime Minister,
So
welcome
as I
back.
was saying,
Welcome back.
thank you very much.
You were muted. In case you
Thank
have said something that we didn't get you, you may rephrase from where you stopped, please.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. So, the war that Nigeria, Islamic State, and that of Cameroon has brought on both nations is not a war that should be ignored. It is a war that must be fought with this alliance. And like they actually captured in the report, and quote, both nations looking for a safe haven. But where they got it wrong was that this safe haven is capable of destabilizing the region. That is a very wrong narrative from the ICG. They should have ought to know who is destabilizing this region. Is it the Biafra government? Is it the Ambazonia Governing Council? The answer is no. Our alliances will rather safeguard our people, give us the leverage to use both territory for the best interest of our people and our nation, and at the same time to defend our women and our children, sharing intelligence, including on security. And that is actually what could bring a solution to already destabilized region. The region is already destabilized. And as a result of the destabilization of this region, that gave birth to the agitation for independence of Ambazonia. The same destabilization, killings, genocide led to the agitation for the independent state of Biafra. So how could it be that those fighting for survival, fighting for self-preservation, will become those that will destabilize the region? That is a narrative that must be corrected. At the same time, I am not actually bothered by what anybody writes these days, because we know most of these organizations who fund them, no matter how they pretend to be neutral. We also know whom interests they always write to protect, no matter how neutral they claim to be. In a country where the military, who ought to be protecting the territorial integrity of such country if it actually exists, are the one killing children, killing women, just what Hamas did to Israel. And somebody will wake up, pick up a pen, do a research, and his or her finding is that the alliances will further destabilize the region. And so I will use this opportunity to address the fact that the Biafra alliance will not and will never destabilize the region. Rather, the alliance of Biafra and Ambazonia will only be the solution for the already destabilized region, which is being funded by the Islamic State. And we have been able to find the solution to the problem. And we are applying it. The policies and the measures we are taking today has proven that indeed the hope of the millions of the Amazonians and millions of Biafrans lies on our boat government. And there is something I would like to tell to Biafra people today, and those who care to know. For those asking us to take a model from other freedom fighters, or from those who have succeeded in the past, I have this to tell them today. I may not have said this anywhere. We are not taking any model from anybody. We are not taking any model from Mandela.
Yes.
We are not taking any model from Gandhi.
Yes.
We are not taking any model from Martin Luther King Jr. We are not taking any model from anybody. The reason being that we will solve our own problem in our own way.
Yes.
Gandhi solved the Indian problem in Indian way. Mandela solved the South African problem, apartheid problem, in their own way. Martin Luther in America also followed what he believed would work for them in America. That does not mean it is going to work for Amazonia. That does not mean it is going to work for Biafra. And you do not expect me to go on hunger strike like Gandhi did in order to register my grievances and disapproval of the killings by the Nigerian state. Nigeria will be happy that I'm on hunger strike. They think that they may even pray that the hunger will kill me so that they will be able to overrun our people. Is that the kind of Gandhi? Is that the kind of a system somebody would like me to take, to go on hunger strike? Nigeria will be celebrating. We are designing and following our own history, the history that we believe that we are creating for the freedom of our people. What is going to work for us, not those that other people have used and they work for them.
Yes.
Nigeria is a complex entity, a complex Islamic state that needed a complex solution. And that's why most of the actions we are taking today, a lot of people can never understand it. But the result is what is speaking for itself. The report from the ICG, as we commend them for bringing the alliance of Biafra and Amazonia to the international level, we also will not be so cheap to accept everything that was written there. And I am even surprised that this particular statement is coming from them so fast, so quick, because we've not even implemented the Biafra Amazonia alliances policies to the fullest. Because by the time that implementation starts coming in, believe me, Cameroon will understand that this is not business as usual. Nigeria will also understand that this is not 1967 and 1970. The Amazonia and Biafra alliance has come to stay for only one thing and nothing else: the interests, best interests of both nations, for the survival of the Amazonia people, for the survival of the Biafra people. We have been able to seal the borders, to make sure that any time Cameroon comes to kill, they will be eliminated. Anytime Nigeria comes to kill, they will also be decimated. That is what all this alliance is all about. Making sure our women and children are not getting killed like chicken in the past, like they killed them in the past. And nobody talks. Making sure that we create the enabling environment to have supplies of arms, sharing of intelligence, making sure that we provide the necessary environment for the armies that are fighting the enemy of our people. So my fellow Biafran and Amazonian, you must understand that this is the beginning of a history. It may sound like a joke to many, but believe me, the history is what we have to create by ourselves. It is what we create that the people will talk about. It is how we create our own history, our own freedom is the way the world will see us. We will not allow anybody to write our history, write what we intend, our intention of becoming alliance nation, recognizing each other, what the intention is and what the intention would be. We have to dictate how the enemies will talk about us, not them writing our history and our story. So as I am applauding the ICG for recognizing the fact that Ambazonia Biafra Alliance is not to be taken as a joke, at the same time, I am faulting them for misrepresenting the intention of the alliance. The intention of the alliance is to safeguard both territory, to make sure that our women and children are safe and are not living in IDP camps as being orchestrated by both terrorist countries. And that particular reason and agenda leading to this alliance has been achieved to a certain degree. Like I have said in the past, and I have mentioned here today, we have devised a means to fight the both nations independent in our own way. That is very, very peculiar. That can never be the same with what any other nation have done. They will write our own history, what we asked them and what we did, not what other people did. Nigeria as an Islamic state has committed crimes against humanity in Biafra land, and nobody has condemned them. The same thing is happening in Ambazonia. Nobody has condemned them. In the first place, the ICG should have focused on calling on the AU to call Yaoundé to order and Abuja to order to stop killing Biafrans and Yaoundé to stop killing Amazonians. That should have been more understandable if the ICG focused this particular analysis from this context. We are the victims and we remain the victim. The ICG should have called on African Union to call Cameroon to order. The ICG should have called Nigeria, Islamic State of Nigeria, to call the AU, to call the Islamic State of Nigeria to order. Not to discuss about the Biafra and Ambazonia alliance. And let me tell you, they will fail. Because where they think that we are stopping is when we are starting. This alliance will make sure that we ruthlessly protect our land, protect our women and our children and our properties. And anybody who crosses our land will die. Enough is enough. I don't know if Dr. Cho is back, but remember that the Biafra next convention is coming up this year, and Amazonia and Biafra will again shock the world on our next phase in Finland. Dr. Cho, I cannot see you again. I think network is really disturbing this space. You can see a lot of people are going out.
The network is terrible.
At the same time.
Network is terrible.
Yeah, I don't know whether it is on purpose. We have over almost 2,000 people here, and you know, they are kicking them and bringing them back. I have lost Dr. Cho, and so I think we wait for him to come back. If he does, please, can you bring him if he's back?
I'm looking for him, sir. I'm looking for him, and I'm waiting for him.
Today we have seen that the leader of Hamas is in Nigeria. It is not a rocket science. I have said it severally that Nigeria will be the biggest threat to the West. Nigeria will be the biggest threat to America. And like we have said in the past, what this terrorist threat in the next 5 years, it is only Biafra that will make it possible. It is only Ambazonia that will make it possible. These two nations will emerge in West Africa to put a stop to the upsurge of terrorists. As Africa stands today, especially in the West Africa, it is only Ambazonia and Biafra that will be able to checkmate this upsurge of terrorist activities within the Sahel region. So the world needs Ambazonia and Biafra like never before, like no other nation. The report said that both nations, Biafra and Ambazonia, are looking for safe haven, and that will destabilize the region. Like I've said before, we start having an attack. It is not us that destabilizes the region. The region has already been destabilized by the invaders, whose ulterior motive is to turn everybody into Islamic State, either directly or indirectly. And we have no choice. We are left with no other choice than to defend our land, defend our women and our children. And today it is happening. I can never, ever back down, step back an inch from the decision that we have made to liberate ourselves from the shackles of this particular subjugation. That the enablers, both the enablers, their sponsors, the invaders, has brought on our people. Our decision is what is going to work for us.
Yes.
The model we are following today is not Mandela model, not Gandhi model, not Martin Luther model. It is a model that is going to work for Biafra.
Our own.
Because we are in a different era,
yes,
my people. And we are facing completely different problem.
Yes.
The complexity of the problem we are facing today requires a very different approach. So when anybody tells you to go and look how other people did it, tell them we are not looking at how any other person did it. We are looking at how we are going to do it in our own way to solve our own problem. and I will continue to say it anyway. We have found a way to make sure that Nigeria does not kill us again and go free. We have found a way to fight our way out of Nigeria.
Yes.
And that way is the only way that works for us. Not me going on hunger strike. It doesn't move Nigeria. Nigeria will celebrate it.
I'm on a strike already.
Not me doing any other thing, saying, oh, everybody should drop arms because Gandhi used non-violent. And when we talk about violent, when we talk about non-violent, I do not know who is using violent. Is it us who have been killed for carrying ordinary flag? Is it us who have been killed for going out to the streets to say enough is enough? Is it us who have been killed in our own homes? Our children, our women has been killed, raped in our own homes. Who is violent? Is it us who have said you can't kill us again? Or is it those who have been perpetrating this particular heinous crime against our people for ages? And we have risen up today to say, no, you can't do it anymore. And they want to give you a bad name, say you are violent. If that is the definition of violent, I am violent.
Yes.
I can never stop this violent.
Oh.
If it is to defend my people is what you know to be a violent, I am violent. That violent until the freedom comes.
Oh my God.
Thank you very much. Ayaba, you can go ahead from here, please.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mr. Prime Minister. Am I being heard?
Yes,
very well. Very well.
Right. I would like to address a couple of issues and look into the future. We should be very optimistic, not because we are more powerful than those who held us captive since we were born, but because we are wiser.
Yes.
And the Prime Minister talked about instability. Instability is caused by insecurity. And insecurity is caused by poverty that is induced through mismanagement, corruption, and lack of accountability. Our both nations, both the economic and political infrastructures have been hijacked and tailored to satisfy a handful of gun-wielding, powerful individuals who have now caused even the collapse now of the Naira. And I'm happy that the Prime Minister and myself have had discussions on establishing an intermediate currency for Biafra. A violation of human rights, torture, and arrest, imprisonment, lack of fair trial, summary execution has been the cause of instability. Environmental degradation, getting into Biafra land, into Amazonia, with corporations whose sole interest is profit and engaging in activities without concern for the protection of the environment, has caused oil spills, has caused health hazards. Those are the causes of instability. And I can agree with the Prime Minister more. If you go further to looking at these reports, which purport to cite primary and secondary sources, they are produced in what I call a Eurocentric manner that negates the contextual realities, which, if followed, would have produced reports that are not only objective but reflect the reality of the moment. you find a report, talking about the Amazonian Governing Council and others as militias. And that is not only abusive, but it is wrong. But one of the reasons why we wanted to highlight this report, as the Prime Minister has said, is also because if we do not establish the institutions that can produce our own reports, others will do it for us. And that's why during our last outing, we talked about creating the Amazonia Biafra International Relations Institution that will be responsible for overseeing opportunities. And I state this here. Amazonia has engaged in negotiation already. The first failed attempt was through the Swiss government. The second aborted attempt was through the Canadian government. And in my leadership, I have always brought up the Biafran issue, because the destabilization being caused in Biafra by all the issues I have named is going to affect the economic prosperity of Amazonia and the political stability which is required for investment in Amazonia. So we must look into how we are going to shape an approach that is going to undermine the approaches that have been established within the continent. For example, the report highlights the importance of the African Union in either resolving or getting involved into the conflict. If we just look at the last African Union, over 5 countries did not, or more countries did not participate, because they consider the African Union as having been hijacked by either the European Union, as we saw the French intervention in undermining the supposed currency that they wanted to put in place. We have also realized that the African Union is made up of friends who safeguard the interests of friends, do not have the interests of the constituents they represent, do not have the interests of the millions of Africans. So you can find that Africans are being attacked in South Africa, you will hardly get criticism. You will find that Africans are being molested across the continent. The heads of states that are overseeing these countries for the interests of foreign corporations can never be held to account, because the other countries that are supposed to hold them to account are also ruled by individuals who are either corrupt, inefficient, or dictatorial in their economic and political approaches. So how do we move forward? Who do we look up to? Do we want to, as Biafrans and Amazonia, create a new world order that redefines, the concept of state interrelationship, concept of sovereignty, state security? How do we want to do it? As the Prime Minister said, the Gandhis, the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X, the Mandelas existed at a particular time. Also, their time and their approaches responded to the geopolitical relationship that existed then. The struggles between capitalism and communism, where international actors could support one side to push them to adopt economic models or political systems that are commensurate to their own. We have harnessed the power of the social media. I will not remind you that we are on Twitter. Then, during the Mandelas, you needed a radio station to be able to communicate.
Ugo.
Now, we have the power of the social media. we can undermine constructed narratives, the books written by historians that favor the occupiers of our country can be undermined through knowledge created by the access we have using the social media. So how can we positively not only use the social media to undermine the narrative that treats us as subject to the master state, but also to create alternative political, economic, and social models that will be embraced by our peoples? It is not enough to let the people know what you are fighting against.
Yes.
It is more important to let the people know what you are fighting to offer. This is why we must not wait for the kind of economic model we want to be established only after we have completely defeated colonialism. Biafra and Ambazonia must begin to trade and regulate the trade and make sure that those who trade pay taxes to both institutions that can be used to be reinvested within communities to create proper systems of education, proper systems of cohesion that keeps our people clean environment and that gives our people respect and dignity. We are not going to wait until we defeat these enemies to establish an education system that is going to develop curriculum of education that responds to our economic and socio-economic and political reality. We are not going to sit here and study about fishing and forestry in Norway when you can deal with it down there in Biafra. I told Ambazonians the other day, Singapore got palm, I think from Inigo. Singapore, what it produces in terms of monetary value in palms is $11 billion a year from palms imported from Biafra. It has established a palm industry and subsidiary industry through palm production that creates jobs and opportunities, and that is able to capture the economic potentials, further training, transform the resources at base. So you don't produce palm nuts, you are not able to benefit from it. We are not going to wait until the collapse of these systems to begin to build the kind of society that we promise our people. That is why I agree with the Prime Minister that our own models are different. We are not also going to wait until freedom to shape international politics. When I started discussing with diplomats, I came to realize how limited they were in terms of content, in terms of knowledge. Their knowledge was captured through colonial prison, through economic interest. I came to realize that though France is supporting Cameroon, France has more investment in Nigeria than it has in Cameroon.
You see?
My people, we are the game changers. We are the disruptors. And I want us to think. We are billionaires, not based on the amount of money that is stuffed in our account, but based on the ideas that we have that can transform our societies today. We have today disruptor machineries that can turn the wasteland in the delta, all the spilled oil, into clean drinking water that can save the health of our people, into manure that can be invested in the agricultural sector, into electricity that can power every household. The waste that is produced by our occupiers, if we bring ourselves together, we are going to employ the new technology that will turn that waste into clean drinking water. A sick population is not good for economic production. A sick population cannot accumulate wealth. Half of our population are sick from diseases that can be treated, but deliberately abandoned so that you can be dependent on your occupier. Our health infrastructures have been collapsed, where billionaires have their coffers stuffed with a lot of money. Our environment has been destroyed. The destroyers are flying private jets and living in hotels that you and myself and our children, our great-grandchildren, the next generation, if we don't fight today, will never dream of living in those places.
Yes.
They are dancing in Aso Rock. They are making birthday parties in Yaoundé. And you are in exile, struggling to find a space to call home, a place where you can even bury your own dad and find his grave next time, not ravished by dogs. This is what we face. But what we face also provides us an opportunity, not only to be people who complain about the international system. What have we got to offer? We've got to organize ourselves. And I'm glad the de facto government in the homeland is going to be the true representatives of the Biafran people. It is going to organize communities. It is going to make sure that it creates infrastructures and systems, create systems that can give the poor farmer credit to be able to invest and create wealth and send the children to good schools. Create a curriculum of education that is going to teach your children how to be mechanical engineers, how to produce beauty. Not to tell you that a hairdresser is bad. Being a mechanic means you're stupid. Being an electrician means you didn't go to school. We use words to change the future. We use words to give you hope.
Yes.
We use words to make you not to be afraid. We use these words to tell our enemies that you can alter your approach today for the benefit of your own people, or this generation will collapse your systems.
Yes.
We have just gotten started. We will not succeed if we blink. We will not succeed if we compromise. We will never succeed if we do not give them method for method and ideal for ideal. But most importantly, all of the things we say today, we articulate are mere words. If we do not transform them into actions that can benefit our people today, it will be useless. Ambazonia has risen. Biafra has risen. Our neighbors and the world better get used to from today that these nations exist. Before they were here, we were here. When they will be long gone, we will still be here.
Yes.
And both flags will still hover and tower over our both nations. All hail Biafra, all hail Ambazonia.
All hail Biafra, all hail Ambazonia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cho, for that wonderful speech there, touching everything as it is. You know, the enemy has always used this reverse psychology. They always tell you it is your activities that is bringing the military to kill people. It is your activities that is making your region to be destabilized. And like you just rightfully pointed out, when the government fails, it gives birth to insecurity, and that insecurity will start destabilizing the region. And that's exactly what has happened. But even more to it, the government by themselves sponsors the insecurity. The government by themselves sponsor terrorism.
Everything.
The government by themselves aid and abet the terrorists that are coming to kill our people. That has led to what is happening today. But you know, when we start defending ourselves, just like you and I have started doing for our both nation, they all forgot how bad it were before you even came to the picture. They all forgot how bad it were before Simon Ekpa even came to the picture. That before Simon Ekpa came to the picture, people are being killed in their praying ground. Before Simon Ekpa came to the picture, Women, children, heads are being cut off in their villages.
Yes.
Before Simon Ekpa came to the picture, markets were being burnt. And this has been what our people went through before now. But today, what they will tell you, how Dr. Cho destabilized Amazonia, how Simon Ekpa is one responsible for bringing the military to kill. All those things, they call them reverse psychology. And you know, because we know exactly the importance of freedom of our people, what it will be, how the future will be bright, the education system, social service system, pro-social amenity from the government, because we have lived in the Western world and we have come to understand how the system works here. And that is why we said enough is enough. Not only that we are also very much versed in international law. The same law that many of these countries, including Cameroon and Nigeria, are signatory to, especially the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Self-determination right of the United Nations. Nigeria ratified it. The same thing, the African Union, the Charter of African Union on Human Rights and People's Rights, Article 21. These are the things that many of these people don't understand. We are looking for a nation where the citizens will be proud to call a nation. We are looking for a nation where we know we will not be branded as criminals and internet fraudsters. We are looking for a nation where the government will take responsibility of its own citizens. We are looking for a nation where the security of every person will be the first and utmost priority of the government. We are looking for a nation where democracy will be the order of the day, where the people's rights to vote will be counted, respected, where a true democracy and a true democratic process will be implemented to the fullest. We are looking for a country where people can sleep and their two eyes closed, like many of us are sleeping in a different country of residence, because the land is secured.
Yes.
And the Biafra government in exile and Amazonia Governing Council has done that job from the scratch. We in the government in exile of Biafra, we've embarked on the database of the Biafra people. At the same time, like the Dr. Cho mentioned here about the currency of Biafra and Amazonia, we've had extensive discussion, plan, making sure that we put every structure in place. And this structure is already coming to stay. The Biafra coin will be out very soon. The same thing with the Biafra National Identity Card. The Biafra database system, it will be out soon. We are not just doing this for the sake of it, but we are doing it to make sure that our people do not jump from fry pan to fire. We want to preach and do what we preach. We want to make sure that the freedom we are looking for and the dream that we have for our people are the dream that is realistic, and dream that is achievable, and dream that we put their interests first before anything. That's why this sacrifice is being made. For those who do not understand the importance of this particular alliance, Biafra and Amazonia, not just in the alliance, but the emergence of these countries. For those who do not understand the importance, like I have said, Sahel is being overrun by terrorists. In the entire West African state, Amazonia and Biafra remain the only two nations that are completely pure and clean from the terrorist spirit. I stand to be challenged anyway. Mention one country in the south, in the Western Africa, that has not been infiltrated by the Islamic State agenda. Mention one. All of them from A to Z. The terrorists are in charge of many countries, including this African Union. And that's what many people do not understand. But the point is, it is not late. The more you sabotage the freedom of Amazonia and Biafra, the more you enslave yourself and the more you open yourself to a threat of Islamization. This is a fact. Check yourself and check the countries within the West Africa. I want you to mention one country that you can look at and you see the potential you are going to see in Biafra and Amazonia. Mention one country. There is none. All these countries has been caged. And the only hope many of them have today is this emerging nation, the Biafra and Amazonia, where we are going to join forces, a very powerful forces, to make sure that the upsurge of the terrorists from the Sahel will be haunted to the moon. The disintegration of Nigeria, the exit of Amazonia will go a very long way in cutting very short the ideal, the agenda of the terrorists within the Sahel. Once Biafra exit, the interest of the terrorists, the interest of the Islamic State has been disintegrated. And this is a fact that everybody must know. We are not saying that we are going to be the police of Africa, no. But we are going to be a model to so many African countries. And that model is very, very crucial and very important. So if you are an Amazonian, find yourself in Amazonian territory, even if you believe in Amazonia or you don't believe in Amazonia, know one day that Cameroon can never be the option. Whatever you go through, whoever you are, whatever Cameroon has made you to become today, you can never attain your potential under Cameroon. The same thing to Biafra people. You can never attain your potential as a Biafran in Nigeria. Today, the hunger in Nigeria, the hardship in Nigeria is ringing bell. And you know, only Biafra people are the ones that are not protesting. The reason being that we have never relied on government. That is the secret. Biafra has never, ever in the history of Nigeria relied on the government of Nigeria. And today the result is here. The people that are crying are the ones benefiting from the Nigeria. That is the reason when you talk about the betterment of the people when they exit Nigeria, they say no, you must stay in Nigeria because Nigeria feed them.
Yes.
But the same Nigeria don't feed Biafra. The policy of the government has always been against the Biafra people. But Biafra are self-made. You are already autonomy on your own. So whatever the policy the government put, it doesn't affect you because you have built your economy by yourself. You provide electricity for yourself. You provide water for yourself. You provide school for yourself. You build the road for your community. You put street light for your community. There has never been Nigeria government present anywhere in Biafra land. And when these people who have been living on Nigeria government fund, palliative and all that, now the palliative, they are crying, waiting for Igbo people or Biafra people to start shouting, oh, the hunger is too much. They can never shout because they has never relied on Nigeria government for their existence. This is the hard truth. But it is not only on this particular self-governance, it is also going to be a model for Biafran nation. If you can survive in Nigeria and everybody is crying and it is only Biafran that are not crying, I want you to think about how it is going to be when you are independent, have the opportunity to govern yourself, make policies for yourself, how you are going to be. It can never be compared to Nigeria, no matter how bad it will be. So our people, irrespective of the blackmail, we will stand very firm. Irrespective of the propaganda, we will continue to stand very, very firm.
Yes.
It is not what you call me and Dr. Cho today that matters, but what you are going to call us in the next 5 years. Thank you.
So I just want to thank our both great leaders really for their submission today. And I would like to encourage all of us, great Biafrans, great Ambazonians, that history made is not easy. So this is really the time for us to join and really do what we can to really support our both nations. So just to talk a little bit about the Ambazonian Biafra Alliance, as you may already know, from the last press briefing, that is December 19th, we know that both leaders, our leader Dr. Cho Ayaba and our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa, they announced the creation of the Ambazonia Biafra Council of International Affairs and Economic Council. Now, this council has been charged with working to make our nations part of a structured international discussion. Now, what we're currently working on right now is basically to write a rebuttal article that was basically a rebuttal to the International Crisis Group, calling on the AU to put Southern Cameroon War on its 2024 agenda. We are now currently writing basically a rebuttal to the leadership of the African Union, the Peace and Security Council of the African Union. Basically, we are calling on them, the AU, to intervene to address the Ambazonia and Biafra self-determination quest. We are basically asking them to examine the root causes of the conflicts and to really prefer lasting solutions. We are actually going to give them certain strategies and mechanisms. For instance, we are asking that they could initiate a comprehensive and inclusive dialogue process to address the root causes of the Ambazonia, Cameroon, Biafra, and Nigerian conflicts. We are also asking them to examine, to facilitate the mediation efforts to bring basically all nations to a negotiating table. We're asking them to examine and establish basically a fact-finding mission to investigate the human rights abuses that is currently ongoing in our nations. We would like to really advocate for international support and also to address the humanitarian needs that are currently ongoing. So this is basically a nutshell of the rebuttal that we are currently working on between the Ambazonia and Biafra Council team. Also, I would like to also mention that this, our team, that we are also being tasked to really define strategies or to find ways to lobby against businesses that undermine the sovereignty of Biafra and Ambazonia and also the ownership of our resources. Now, the council will also work on the refugee situation of our nations and really find devise basically strategies to take a hard stand on the Nigeria, Cameroon regarding our citizens that are being kidnapped. What we are also planning on also is to kind of create a discussion panel. So Ambassador Biafra Council team, we're planning to create discussion panel in the future where we will have a good interaction with our people, both Ambazonian and Biafran, and it will be focused on three main parts. The first is the Defense Alliance. Then we have the second, the Diplomacy Alliance, and then we have the Economic Alliance. The whole purpose and strategy is basically so that we will create more awareness and get our people involved and excited to be part of the new nation that is being developed. So I want to thank our great leaders, Dr. Cho, and our Prime Minister, Simon Ekpa, for this great work they are doing. They are making history. And I think that Dr. Cho is back, so I will yield my mic.
Dr. Joy has summarized work in progress, and I would call on you, Dr. Joy, and Chairman Kavi from the Ambazonian side to work very hard and make these drafts available to our both offices in the shortest time possible. I am enthused by what you have itemized, and I am very hopeful that we will move aggressively. We have got work to do, and both leaders will be consulting regularly on all the issues that you have highlighted, and we will make sure that we let international partners understand that we are harbingers for stability and opportunity, and that Cameroon and Nigeria are not only opportunists, but they are the source for instability and insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea. So thanks to the moderators, the host, and to everyone who has come to listen to us today. We are indebted in gratitude, and we ask you to continue to be advocate for the survival and self-preservation of our both peoples, for us to establish a space where they can live in peace and security. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cho. I will leave one last word. The more they blackmail us, the stronger we are.
Yes.
The more propaganda, the more strong we become. The more attack, the more forward we go. Everything worketh for good for Ambazonia and Biafra. Thank you.
God bless you, Mr. Prime Minister. Good night to everybody.
Bless you too.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night, yeah. And thank you, Biafrans, for listening this evening, irrespective of the attack, trying to destabilize what we're doing. I thank you all for, having that patience and staying here to the end of this particular briefing from myself and the leader of Amazonia. Well, thank you all. In the next few days, the Biafra government will unveil the Biafra national identity card, and the process. Make sure you stick to this particular platform where the information will be released, and in the next few days, there's going to be the State of the Union address by myself. And so please, it is very, very important that those of you who would want to come to Finland during our declaration this year, you have to start preparing ahead of time. Every information will be released in a few days' time. Thank you, the media team. Thank you, Dr. Professor Joy, and you and your team, the Amazonia Biafra Alliance team. Thank you all who are working assiduously, secretly, for the betterment. God bless all of you. From here, from me, is good evening.